Hello and welcome to Ready Bet Action. We are here to record our college football week 2 picks. Week 2 already. We were just talking about week 0. Feels like 4 days ago, which is not true. It's been 2 weeks. So, yeah, we are, just for context, recording this on a Tuesday night. So any lines we talk about are subject to change, cancellation, anything like that. If you see a lot of points move, use your own discretion to make your picks. We though have some juicy picks for
Or
you.
DM
A good
us.
or DM us, and we'll give you
Yeah.
the correct answer of what to do. But yeah, we're feeling pretty good. How do y'all feel about quick thoughts on week 1 before we have to jump into a shit ton of picks? Quick thoughts.
I mean, I was
Go
really bummed
Dogs.
I wasn't able to record with y'all. Other than that, let's rock and roll. Let's go. It was a good week.
That's true. What about you, Mike?
Go Dogs, go Utes. Who is DJU? USC shocked everybody. A&M, I have major concerns about. There we go.
The amount that the internet is shitting on Florida State is pretty hilarious. right now. There's some really funny stuff out there.
Did you
but
guys
you know what?
see the guy that sent the massive tweet last week?
Yes. Yes, he owes us eating shit on camera.
He's now deleted all of his socials, so that's entertaining.
That is hilarious. That is so good. Speaking of socials, don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X, and wherever you get all of your podcasts. Hit the like, subscribe, all of the good things buttons. We're gonna dive in because we don't really have time to waste. If we like to consider ourselves a short show here, and with the number of picks we have, we're gonna be pushing that moniker today. So, Stefan, why don't you kick us off with your first pick for college football week 2?
I will do that, and I'm going to get us started on a Friday night, September 6th, where the Duke Blue Devils travel to Northwestern. You mentioned this last week. Northwestern doesn't really have a stadium this year, so they're playing some of their games at Wrigley. They're playing some of their games on a practice field. All I know is give me Duke plus 2.5. I really thought Malik Murphy going over to this Duke team was going to be a really good thing for him and the Devils, and so far has been. He looked really good with his downfield passing. Yes, it was against Elon, but still, he was putting the ball where he needed to. Northwestern continues to unimpress me. I think they're like one of your least favorite Big Ten teams, if I'm not mistaken, Eric. So
100%.
I'm going to go ahead and take my only underdog play of the week, Duke plus 2.5.
They barely beat Miami of Ohio last week, and that was my money line pick. I was real close to getting that one. But I'm with you, Duke plus 2.5 for all the same reasons. Malik Murphy, and then we're going to be quite a bit more of a challenge for Northwestern this week. Mike, what do you got for your first pick?
Man, I'm going Utah minus 14 against Baylor. Utah, they're
Homer.
I know.
Wearing the Utah hat.
You gotta love it. I mean, Rising last week went 10 for 15 for 250 and 5 touchdowns in the first half, and got pulled before the second quarter was over. Like, I know it was Southern Utah, but I feel like this Utah team is starting to change the narrative a little bit about what Utah football is. They've always been on as like that major defensive squad, and they've actually got a really good offense to pair with it this year. Meanwhile, Baylor's not amazing. Utah beat them last year by 7. The Baylor team hasn't changed a ton. They got a new quarterback in Daquan Finn out of Toledo.
We love Daquan Finn. We love Finn. I love Daquan Finn.
You're allowed to love him, but he's not going to do enough. Utah defense is just great. Baylor played 2 top 25 teams last year, and they lost to both of them by more than 30 points. And I think that same defense shows up in this game here. So give me Utah minus 14.
Yeah, I actually had this pick until you put it in our shared sheet here. This is going to be one of my picks too. So fully support this. Utah is going to roll Baylor.
I should have let you take it so I couldn't be called a homer.
We'll coordinate next time because I got one coming up. All right, let's go to the big house. I'll take the next pick. We got Texas at Michigan. I'm going to take under 43 at minus 110. We're at the big house. The biggest piece of the team that Michigan held on to from last year is their defense. The noise of the big house, that's an intimidating sight. Texas beat Colorado State 53-0 this last week. 0 is the key number. That Texas defense looked real good. Colorado State, while maybe not the most threatening team, does have a decent quarterback and an NFL caliber receiver in Horton that they held to pretty much nothing. So actually, they did hold them to nothing, literally 0 and like under 100 passing yards. So between those two things, Texas is not going to put up 53 points on Michigan. I think Texas wins this game. I like the under. I think this score ends in the teens or low 20s. So that's what I like. Stefan, what you got next?
I do like that underplay. The number's a bit low for me. Next, I know someone else has a play on this game. I'm going to go over to Iowa. Iowa came off an extremely impressive performance, not so much because they beat a good team. They didn't. They beat a bad team, but they did it in very, half Iowa fashion. Pitching a shutout, very Iowa. Scoring 40 points is very much not Iowa's MO. Something that I liked about this last game, Cade McNamara is like ranked number 5 in the nation after 1 week for most downfield, like passing completions. He was going vertical, which is something that we do not see very often with Iowa. It's something that we see even less when it's successful and throwing to wide receivers as opposed to tight ends. So I wonder with this new offensive coordinator, if maybe there's a slight shift. Regardless, Iowa's defense is going to show up. It's a huge rivalry game. Iowa State, their sophomore quarterback and Beck, I don't think Rocco's quite ready for this crowd here in Iowa. So give me Iowa minus 2.5. Really like this play. I think Iowa State struggles to score. Iowa ends up winning pretty comfortably. I think they end up winning like 24-17, 24-10, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Iowa's going to win. I'm going to take the under, which is a cowardly play for an Iowa game, but I think it's going to happen pretty easily. Look, Iowa State only beat North Dakota, I think it was 21-3 over the weekend, and Iowa honestly was rocking. They actually hit the under of 41, I'm pretty sure was the total. But they were rocking way under that for most of that game and opened it up late against a directional Illinois team. So, yeah, they're not going to score that. This is like a 13-10, 17-4 type of game for me.
If it's 17-4,
sorry, 17-14. 17. Hey, the way that Ferenz needs offense any way he can.
If we're going to see two safeties in a game, though, chances are it's against Iowa's offense.
This is the game. This is
a game I'm very interested in, just to see if Iowa's actually shifted their offensive philosophy or not. Cade McNamara being healthy for now will be a big part of that. So I think your under is pretty safe
because I don't think for our listeners. They haven't.
Yeah, like
they have.
I mean, the under last week, like because the first half, like I texted you guys, and it's like this score is a joke. Like it was like 6-3 or something crazy like that. And then they had me sweating on the last drive after their pick, and I'm like, just kneel the freaking ball, and they're running it. So
my prediction is they go back to exactly what's comfortable for them as soon as they get scared by another team, which will be Iowa State. That's what I would say. That's my prediction.
The only difference is in the past, they were scared to play offense even against shit teams. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Monumental shifts happening at Iowa. Mike, why don't you give us your next pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee -7 at NC State. Steve, I think you're taking them at -8. So we're right on par there. But Tennessee's offense exploded last week, just like we expected. Iamaleava looks like he's been in the system for a minute. Josh Heupel's offense looked like Heupel's offense, man. And meanwhile, NC State kind of struggled against Western Carolina a little bit. They were down 21-17 heading into the fourth quarter and had to have an explosive fourth quarter to really come away with what wasn't what the game actually was. Jordan Waters with NC State, I mean, he ran for 123 yards on 19 carries, but he also had a 50-yard breakout. So you eliminate that, and it's a good stat line, but it's not as explosive as it looks at the end of the day. And I mean, Grayson McCall's a good quarterback who should settle down and play better than he played last week. But, I don't think it's enough to keep up with how explosive Tennessee is. I could see this being a, 34-35, 21-24 game kind of thing. So I think it'll be, a lot of points. I don't remember what the over was on it, but I know I thought about it.
60.5.
60.5. And yeah, I mean, like, I think it's going to be a lot of points. I don't see NC State putting up, in the 30s.
Yeah, Stefan, you also have a pick on this game. Care to give your thoughts?
I have 2 picks on this game.
Two.
First,
Hit us.
I'm on Tennessee -8 at -108. I'll take the 7.5. I honestly just looked at one app and just stole all the numbers from there. So yeah, shop around. Always shop around. But I like Tennessee to cover. Honestly, I might run this on an outline ladder. I think Tennessee wallops NC State, and I think that total is 60.5. I think they get 3/4 of that. I think they get 40 pretty easily in this game. Combined, though, NC State and Tennessee combined for 1,300 yards of offense between the two of them last week. KC Concepcion is a sophomore wide receiver that if you don't know his name, you should. He plays for NC State. He had like 9 receptions for like 300 yards or something stupid, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the dude's nonsense. So KC Concepcion is a name you want to remember, and he is going to help us get this over. Like I said, I'm also in the over 60.5. NC State will get at least 17 to 24 points just because of him and Waters, as you mentioned as well, Mike. So I do think they'll be able to keep up. Sneaky Heupel offense, though, like Dylan Sampson keeps running the ball. Like, this is not just a throw it and catch it type offense. They really are well-rounded, although they do it in different ways. So I'm on both Tennessee -8 or 7.5 if I can get that. And then I'm also in the NC State Tennessee over 60.5. And I'm going to ladder this thing because I think the points go up, and I think NC State could be in a real situation here with Tennessee just smashing them. So I'll be playing some like -13.5 as well for Tennessee.
Yeah, they needed all of Concepcion's yards to beat Western Carolina. Every single one of them. every single one. All right, so let's go on to a game that Stefan and I both have a pick for. I think we both just agree on the South Carolina at Kentucky. Kentucky -10 here at -108. For me, this is pretty easy that South Carolina struggled with Old Dominion, which I didn't know they had a football team, to be quite honest, until I went and looked that up. That was a big struggle. Kentucky kind of looks as advertised. 10 points seems too low. Stoops will just keep the team rolling. Stefan, thoughts?
Same. Brock Vandegrift didn't look like overly impressive, but he didn't have to. I think Berrien Brown and Dane Key are the real keys to this game. Pun very much intended. Their wide receivers are just fantastic. I think they're just going to be too explosive. South Carolina, Sellers looked a little overwhelmed at times, really struggling to connect with receivers. I think he's going to be really good in the future. I just don't think second game out against a pretty tough Kentucky team, I don't think is going to be it. So let's roll with, this could be one that maybe we're overreacting a bit much to how bad South Carolina looked. But
maybe
I'll play up. I'll play up. I'll play this hand and see what happens.
It's pretty bad to look that bad against Old Dominion. That's pretty rough. It's not like Oregon where it's like, oh, they were a little slow. Maybe we think about it. Like, no, it's like that was pretty bad. Pretty bad. Mike, why don't you take us to your next pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas State versus Tulane under 49.5 at -108. Both teams look good in week 1, but their quarterbacks still kind of have to prove it a little bit. Tulane's starting a redshirt freshman whose only playing time so far was last week. And on the flip side, Kansas State, Avery Johnson was stuck behind Will Howard and is a heck of a runner and a heck of an athlete. But, he only threw for 150 yards against UT Martin. So I think he will improve. I don't know if he improves enough to run the score up. I expect Kansas State to lean heavily on the run game in this one, slow the game down a bit, keep the defense off the field, keep them fresh. And I just threw that I just don't expect it to get over 49.5. So give me that at -108.
Awesome.
Yeah, they did run for like 283 yards last week, Kansas State.
Yep.
Between Giddens and our boy Dylan Edwards and Avery, I think, they're going to be running the football an awful lot. I like that underplay.
And Mike, why don't you just give us your tasty parlay that you have?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Kansas State and Tennessee already.
Speaking of my 2 last explanations, give me Kansas State and Tennessee moneyline parlay at -135. Don't have too much to explain here other than I think they're far better teams than their opponents, and I'm not really concerned about this one at all.
Nice. Love it. I know we're not giving out enough parlays on this show. We'll we'll step that game up. Stefan, take us to your next pick.
All right. So you just mentioned how Oregon looked a little anemic at times. Wasn't for a lack of effort. They threw the ball 49 times. Somehow Dylan Gabriel connected on 41 of those for almost 400 yards, yet they only scored 24 points. Really slow pace of play, really not wanting to show much. They are just going to go ahead and take what the defense gives them. It's like Bo Nix, but without anything deep ever. So hopefully that's just like vanilla offense for these first few weeks when we're not playing anyone. Meanwhile, Ashton Genty put on a show last week with like 300 rushing yards. That's not actually hyperbole. He actually did that. And 6 touchdowns. Like absolutely stupid. You take these two teams. I think Oregon's really going to try to establish the running game with Jordan James. They really struggled last week with those offensive line injuries. I think they're going to try to get more reps in with running the ball as much as they can. I think this shoots way under. 61 just seems really tough to hit when Boise can't throw the ball. They're going to be running it every single play. Oregon's going to give up a few big ones, not nearly as many as Boise was able to get last week. So I see this as like a 24-10 win. Like, I don't think we're going to see a lot of points. 31-10 maybe. Ladder this one down if you want to. This one's going way under.
Yeah. Oregon is definitely holding back last week, and I don't think anyone's really worried about Oregon after that last week.
A lot of offensive line injuries, so like they're coming back, so like it bodes well for the future. But yeah, I think right now it's just survive in advance until they get their line back.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I'm going to move us over to my team, which was Colorado versus Nebraska. Give me over 57.5. Nebraska took it to UTEP, put up a bunch of points. Raiola looks great as a true freshman. You know, it's against UTEP, maybe bottom Power 5 or not very bottom FBS team. That being said, you know, still put up the points, still look good. I think it had like 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. And Nebraska put up a bunch of points. CU's defense does not look any different than it did last year. I fully expect Nebraska to score at will. At the same time, CU should be able to score pretty well in this game too. Definitely a lot harder time than they had against North Dakota State. Not a lot harder, I should say. About the same, maybe a little harder. If Shedeur finds just a little bit better ball distribution, like game's going to both get into the 30s, I think, even if Nebraska covers the spread. I think both teams get into the 30s. People are forgetting that, like, sure, Travis Hunter had 7 catches, 100-something yards, and 3 touchdowns, but like Jimmy Horn had 200 yards and a touchdown on 7 catches. And so if
he doesn't drop that one in open space, it's another touchdown and 40+ yards.
Jimmy Horn, if Travis Hunter stays healthy, which is like the big thing, Jimmy Horn will be running down the middle of the field for this entire season, completely uncovered like he was against North Dakota State. I really believe that. Like, and like they barely touched Will Shepherd, barely touched these other receivers, so they're going to need to find some better ball distribution to actually beat Nebraska. But the offense is there. Even without a running game, the offense is there to score enough against Nebraska to hit this over mark. And I think Nebraska covers 40 points of this over, if I'm being totally honest. So maybe I'm just a cynical CU fan. I don't know. Any thoughts?
I think the defense should look a little different. I think they'll try to just avoid the big play, keep everything in front of them. And see what happens in the red zone. I think that's what CU should do. I was texting with Eric earlier, like during the CU game. And I was like, CU football is how all of us play EA college football video game. It's like pass, touchdown. And then on defense, pass, touchdown. It's like, shit. You know, like it's just ridiculous.
Right. You mean the skip defense button is what they do.
I could see too, Eric, with this overhitting could also be because some short fields with turnovers or sacks and not necessarily great punting game. Prime has shown he's not the best in-game coach either. A lot of mistakes. So I could see there being like some short fields, some crazy touchdowns. So I like the over on this one an awful lot. And I refuse to bet on Nebraska. So like that's how I'll play this one too.
There will actually be turnovers in this game. There were not in the last game. There will be turnovers in this game. So it should make it spicy for sure. Mike, what you got for us as the next pick?
Yeah, my last pick is going to be Georgia Tech -3 at -105. Tech's come out pretty strong, looking pretty good so far. Haynes King has been efficient. He's not going to knock anybody's socks off, but he's got a passer rating of 166 on the year. And as a team, they're averaging 5.9 yards a carry. Syracuse came out a little slow against Ohio last week. They're down 6-0 going into the second quarter. Kyle McCord turned it on a little bit, got the offense going. But I think the story here is going to be how bad Syracuse's defense is. They gave up 436 yards to Ohio last week and 181 yards on the ground, 6.3 yards per rush there. I think that paired with how good Georgia Tech's running game is, kind of the same formula I was talking about with Kansas State. Tech's just going to stay on the field, run the ball as they need to, keep the defense fresh, and I think that's just going to overtake Syracuse.
I love that. I think the ACC is going to be much more fun than our preview show predicted. That's what I got out. That was my week 1 takeaway I forgot to mention, is that the ACC is going to be way more entertaining than our preview show. Is like, Florida State's going to win it. We don't, whatever. And honestly, I think it's going to be a bunch of fun. Like, Boston College looked great. Georgia Tech looks great. Syracuse should be fun. Like, I think the ACC is going to at least have some fun matchups this year for us. So I definitely changed my mind on the ACC this last weekend. Stefan, why don't you give us your last pick, and then I will wrap us up.
Yes, we are going to go to a good old-fashioned Texas-Oklahoma game. Houston travels to Norman. I'm going to take Oklahoma. Oklahoma team total over 37.5. I just don't think this Houston team can slow down Oklahoma. Yes, no. Oklahoma has become a bit more defensive with the new coaching staff. Now, like year 2, year 3. But I still think that Jackson Arnold is one of the top quarterbacks in all of college football. He has incredible weapons all around him at the receiver. Nick Anderson is good. Farouk is good. They've got great talent there. The running game should keep going. I just don't see how Houston slows them down. I wanted just to play the over on the game, but I'm honestly nervous that Houston can do their part. So just go ahead and give me the team total for Oklahoma over 37.5.
Love it. That's a fun one to cheer for too. We all like cheering for the big overs, especially if it's just for one team. All right, my last pick is App State at Clemson. Give me App State plus 17. I'm just riding the Fade Dabo train until he proves us wrong. App State is on. They're projected to be the G5 team to come into the playoff. Them are like Liberty. App State's really good this year. They got a team over there, and they're going to give Clemson some fits. So I don't have much more to say than that I don't think Clemson should be a 17-point favorite to another playoff team. Sorry, I say another, meaning the team that's more likely to make the playoffs out of these two is App State. Suck it, Clemson fans. What's up? I truly believe that. All right, that's all. Any last comments before we wrap it up?
Oh, I like it because you see how, like, when Clemson was giving up a lot of yards, which was often, like, it was however they wanted to do it, and running the ball was definitely part of it. At State run attack is absolutely lethal. I can see them taking advantage of. Woods is already kind of playing out of position for Clemson, moving to the defensive end spot, like moving to edge from linebacker. I think they could take a lot of advantage of the linebackers being out of position quite a bit in this game. I could see App State getting real close in this one.
Yeah,
I like it too, man.
17, right? 17's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. Watching Clemson last week against Georgia, it kind of felt like Georgia offensively was only kind of trying at times. Like it was a lot of screens, a lot of swing passes, not really anything down the field, not really even asking Carson Beck to do much. And I think Kirby was like, all right, make us play, And I don't know if Clemson has it to really do anything much this year. And you can even see in his press conference, man, it almost felt like he almost felt so defeated that it didn't give me any hope for Clemson even making a significant turnaround for the rest of the season. So I like this play a lot.
We could honestly see someone that's not Florida State or Clemson win this ACC, and I truly believe that after this weekend, and I'm very excited about it.
Pretty sure that's a 50% chance. Like, I don't even think it's that more far of a long shot at this point.
Well, now you crazy people, now I have to check.
Go
Now I have to.
check the futures while I get our preview slides going of
So-
what the ACC futures are looking like.
Miami is plus 180 to win the conference, so not quite.
Yeah, they look good.
More like
real good.
42% chance to win the third. Second is Clemson at plus 300, Louisville at plus 750. Florida State has dropped all the way down to 1, 2, 3, 4 at ninth at plus 4,000.
Whoa,
Well,
plus
they're
4,000.
0-2 in conference play already. So, you know.
That is bonkers. I think Miami looks pretty strong. That'll be a hard one to overcome.
Yeah.
But the ACC is going to be wild. Anyways, this is the part of the show where we run it down. This is a long college football episode for you. But you know what? We got a lot of juicy picks here. So I'm going to start with my picks. Then I'll hand it off to Mike and then Stefan. I got Duke plus 2.5 at Northwestern. Give me Texas at Michigan under 43. Iowa State at Iowa under 35.5. South Carolina at Kentucky. Give me Kentucky minus 10. CU at Nebraska over 57.5. And then App State plus 17.5 is where I got the line at Clemson. Mike.
Give me Baylor at Utah. Utah minus 14. Tennessee minus 7 at NC State. I'll take Kansas State at Tulane under 49.5. Then a Kansas State money line plus Tennessee money line parlay at minus 135. And Georgia Tech minus 3 at Syracuse minus 105.
Delicious. I'm going to take Iowa minus 2.5 at home versus Iowa State. Take Duke plus 2.5 on the road at Northwestern, although is anyone really at Northwestern? We're going to take Kentucky minus 10 home versus South Carolina. In Tennessee, NC State, I got a double whammy. We're going to go Tennessee minus 8, and we're going to go over 60.5. And you know we'll get a same game parlay in there of some combination of those two things as well. We're going to go under 61 in the Boise State-Oregon game, and we're going to go over 37.5 team total for Oklahoma as they put it on the Houston Cougars.
I love it. That's a lot of money to be made. We're going to do really well on college football this week. We'll come back at you with some NFL, though. Lots of NFL picks. NFL week 1 coming up later this week. Soccer is TBD, but NFL for sure. We will be back, and we will talk to everyone later.